Welcome to the Filmcast review of Love Hurts. I'm going to read the plot summary of this movie from the internet. Marvin is a Milwaukee realtor who receives a crimson envelope from Rose, a former partner in crime who he left for dead. He now finds himself thrust back into a world of ruthless hitmen and double crosses that turn his open houses into deadly war zones. End quote. Now, I think it's fair to say that the Ke Huy Quan story is one of those classic Hollywood stories you gotta root for. We all loved Everything Everywhere All at Once. Here's a guy.
We all saw him as a kid.
We all saw him as a kid in Indiana Jones. Here's a guy who the Hollywood industry has relegated to the background for decades, who never thought that, Hollywood never thought, like, this guy could be a leading man, this guy could be a major actor, but he's been there. He's been there toiling away in the background, and then all of a sudden gets the perfect project, Everything Everywhere All at Once, to demonstrate his chops, and Hollywood rewards him for it handsomely with a ton of awards, including Best Supporting Actor. And so it's like, hey, this is this guy's time to shine. He's back, heading up this movie, Love Hurts. It's an action vehicle.
A quanaissance.
A quanaissance, theoretically, is what it's supposed to usher in, to show that not only can this guy do action, but he can be a leading man as well, or romantic lead even. Devindra, how successful do you think this movie was? Love Hurts.
Oh, this movie's a disaster. Like, almost on every single level. And I'll tell you guys, it breaks my heart. That's what hurts about this movie.
Love Hurts
because
hurts.
It hurts. I saw the trailer for this movie, and my first thought was, oh no, what are they doing to my boy? Because I agree, Ke Huy Quan is a talent. Like, he is somebody who I'd love to see have more success. But this movie fails on almost every level, and it makes me really sad. Like, this actually reminds me of people who win Oscars, who are recognized for their talents in some degree, but then the projects that they end up getting just are always below their talents, or like beneath
Cuba Gooding Jr.
Cuba Gooding Jr. Thinking
Ariana
of
DeBose.
Ariana DeBose, definitely, because we've talked about she was just in Craven the Hunter.
Ariana DeBose has been in Craven the Hunter, Argyle, and Love Hurts. You know, those are not all of her projects, but that's most of the projects she's made since winning the Academy Award. And that is
who
rough.
Was Catwoman? Yeah. Who was the 2000s Catwoman?
Halle Berry.
Halle Berry, same thing. She won an Oscar. They didn't know what to do with her. I think this is more a Hollywood problem than anything. But yeah, this movie, unfortunately, it's just like terrible on so many levels. And I'm no stranger to watching martial arts films with terrible writing, horrible plots, like just for the action. And I feel like this is kind of one of those. And honestly, I actually really like the fight scenes in this movie because Ke Huy Quan definitely knows what he's doing. Like, he moves really well. I like the action scenes in this movie better than I like the action scenes in Nobody. From the same like studio. They're just more believable, more fun. These side characters are also a lot of fun too. I love Mustafa Shakir in this movie because he's giving me real, I don't know, old school vibes. He was in the Cowboy Bebop TV series, but he's just like tall, has a real sense of presence.
Yeah. He plays Raven in this movie.
He plays Raven. Marshawn Lynch gets to be funny. I even like, I love Daniel Wu in other projects, and he gets to be like the big bad villain here. There's a lot of good talent here, but what you have is a terrible script where it's just like paper thin. There's really like no reason for anyone to be doing anything here. The thing I can't get over is that Ariana DeBose's character Rose, just like, she kind of instigates this whole thing. I don't know what her plan is. What is her goal? What is she trying to do? Is she trying to? She's somebody who left this life and is trying to reclaim her life, but it doesn't make any sense. So many things about this movie just does not make sense. And it's a damn shame. It's a damn shame for these two leads who I think deserve better. So that's where I'm at. Maybe we'll see some action supercuts of this movie because there's some fun stuff. There's some great choreography, some great camera movement and camera placement. But yeah, what a disaster otherwise.
Jeff Kanata, your thoughts on Love Hurts?
Well, Dave, I guess you could say my thoughts on Love Hurts are best summed up in the form of a limerick. Ke Huy Quan is such a charming man, and I want his career to expand. This film ain't the one, but there's moments of fun when it channels the great Jackie Chan.
I got some Jackie Chan vibes from him as well
There's
in this
Jackie Chan
movie.
vibes.
Yeah.
one fight in particular
Yes. Yes.
that is so fun. The camera goes inside a refrigerator,
kitchen
and
fight,
inside
yeah,
a microwave
yeah.
oven, and there's all these sort of wacky, like he's kind of out of control, and you can tell he's a badass, but he's just improvising, and he's kind of getting the crap kicked out of him, and he's kind of just doing whatever he can do, and it really felt like an old school Jackie Chan movie.
Yeah.
And I wish this movie had leaned into that more.
Yeah.
And just gone full Jackie Chan with it and made the whole premise into not that Ke Huy Quan's character is the supreme badass who's just sort of rediscovering his badassery, more that he's kind of off balance the whole time and just, like an old Jackie Chan movie where it's like, I don't know even how this guy is surviving here. Like, he's just picking up whatever he can and just trying to get out of the room.
Right.
And
we don't watch Rumble in the Bronx for the plot. You know,
Right.
we watch it for what Jackie Chan is doing. Like, they definitely could have leaned more. Yeah.
It has flashes of that, and you go, oh, if that had been the sort of galvanizing force behind this movie, I think that would have been a much more fun experience. As is, there are some things that are fun, like that one particular action sequence, for example, like seeing Marshawn Lynch kind of being a goof. But I agree with Devindra. This movie is not good, and it's sad to watch because I'm rooting for Ke Huy Quan so much. I'm rooting for honestly. This sounds really dismissive and reductive and mean, but it feels like this movie
but that's
is
not going to stop him.
Well, it seems like this movie is the B team. It feels like a lot of this casting is they could get these people for relatively cheap,
but they shouldn't be able. Ariana DeBose again, Oscar. Like I don't know why.
Yeah. But like we get a Goonies reunion of sorts here, and it's just like it feels so forced and so it's like, hey, you get to come in and be a goofy, wacky, over the top character. Do whatever you want. That's It really feels not great, and it's sad.
Even some of that we'll talk about in spoilers, but even some of that felt like you're actually doing good stuff here. It's a shame this is being wasted on what this is. Yeah,
it's a disappointment overall for me.
Hey, also, we used to love Mr. Cam Gigandit. Where has he been?
Gigande.
Yeah, Gigande. Yeah. Where has he been? Apparently here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently. Okay. Second week in a row, all three of us are in complete agreement about a movie.
Okay, this has got to change.
I was worried.
Yeah, this feels wrong. Yes, Love Hurts, unfortunately, is not a very good film. And it really does come down to the script. I think the big problem with the script is it does a lot of telling, not showing. And in particular, there is a lot of stuff that happens off screen in this film.
It's always telling. It's always telling you
fashion. In baffling fashion. I think that this is the first movie I've seen in a long time where it feels like they literally ran out of money. Like it feels like I mean, the movie cost around $18 million, so it's not like ultra low budget or anything. But it feels like
these days that is pretty ultra low budget.
I don't know,
main
man.
Studio film.
Sorry,
go ahead.
Blumhouse is still able to bring these things in under around $5 million. So it's like, and those movies make like $100 million. So I think there are so many things that are referred to that I just kept thinking to myself. In a regular movie, you would see a flashback to that, or it would start in the past, and then you would like see those scenes that build up to the present day. But also maybe like narratively, they wanted to do it this way because they want the surprise of, oh, he's a real estate agent, but actually he knows how to kill people. It's like, well, you're gonna need to use the fight scenes to advertise the movie anyway, so it's like it's not really a surprise.
Not really a surprise.
Anyway, I found it to be baffling in many ways because there's just so much. It's not just like, oh, if we'd had this one scene where you see the brothers get to know each other or whatever. It's like there's so many things that happen off screen that you're supposed to kind of rely on to understand and be invested in the current plot. That ultimately I think the movie just is unable to succeed because of how much they need to tell you and not show.
It also it's always telling you things, like it's telling you what characters are thinking rather than just
Oh, I
having
mean,
you infer things over and over
multiple
again.
voiceovers, which is just
Multiples.
awful. It like grinds the movie to a halt. Just
Yeah,
a
there's
bunch
literally
of,
a moment where you hear Ariana DeBose's thoughts.
Uh-huh.
Like, what? Oh, we get to hear her thoughts for just a
Right.
sentence.
Yeah.
it's super underdeveloped as even a plot device, right? Like it just
Yeah.
it doesn't feel like it was done with like, oh, let's have the voiceover. Let's have the voiceover and that's going to be an integral part of the movie. It felt like a director being like, I'm not sure that you're going to know what that character's thinking at this point, so we got to put a voiceover, which is the worst type. So
It feels
It's
like
also-
an unproven director, honestly, but yeah.
It's
Yeah.
also not about love enough.
Yeah.
It's set.
Yeah.
I kind of love. You don't really see movies set during Valentine's Day very often, you know.
Yeah.
And the idea that it's set during Valentine's Day and is trying to be this sort of offbeat love story, but then the movie just isn't for a lot. Like, I don't believe at any point the love story part of it. It's
Mhm.
so
Well, yeah.
undercooked.
Multiple love
I mean, a
stories.
huge part of that, I think, is that sadly, Ke Huy Quan and Ariana DeBose have no chemistry, unfortunately,
Mhm,
and that's
mhm.
it brings me no joy to say
Well,
that, but I think that's the problem.
They also have like
Yeah.
almost no scenes together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It is
Yeah.
all just. I looked at her across the way, and there's that girl that I love, and it's like, oh
Yeah.
wait, but
Why?
we haven't seen any of that. We haven't
Right,
seen any.
right.
You know,
I mean, even in the in the telling and not showing, they don't even really
Yes.
explain to you why they're in love very much. So
They don't
Right.
tell you
It's-
the things you really need to know. And
Yeah.
I think even this movie even fails to like set up the reality of this world, right? He's supposed to be a realtor who loves his job, right? Takes a bike everywhere, like a cute little environmental guy. You need a car. Like you gotta like if you actually care about, you need to actually move families from house to house. You need to actually be able to get like if you actually care about your job, you wouldn't be riding a bike.
I
don't
agree. That was the most unrealistic part.
That
of
was the most
movie.
unrealistic part of the movie for me. Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make
But
sense.
but I also agree with you both that the action scenes are actually awesome. I've
Mhm.
seen some people put down the action scenes. I think the action scenes are great. I think like you guys have said, the plot in Jackie Chan movies was not the strongest, but they delivered on the action, and I think this movie did a decent job on the action. Like
Mhm.
there was one scene that's really awesome, and if every scene had been that good,
yeah.
I think this movie would have been a strong recommend. I also feel like tone is a big part of it, right?
Yes.
The plot
Yes.
of the John Wick movies is not great, in my opinion. But people love those films. And they're not like shitting all over the John Wick movies. And I think it's because
it's the stakes too. But yeah.
but I think those movies nail the tone. Like
Yes.
those movies know exactly what they want to be. This movie, I think the tone is kind of bad because
That's certainly one of the problems. But it's like the John Wick
because it's
movies
trying to be this kind
yeah.
of broad comedy, but
Yeah.
also like people are getting horrifically maimed and killed.
Right.
horrifically
you know,
maimed. Also, it's supposed to be about love. You got to fit a love story, multiple love
So
stories
just
in there
totally,
too.
It's all over the place. And I think honestly, if the tone had if it had stuck to one thing and picked one thing and stuck with it, I think people would be much more forgiving about this movie. But because of the plot machinations, because of the tonal imbalances, I think
Yeah.
people feel like, oh, this is an incompetently made movie, and that's it. That's it.
It establishes Ke Huy Quan's character as being someone who is just obsessed with his job, loves his
Mhm.
job.
Yeah.
And that gets in the way of him being in love with Ariana DeBose, right?
Mhm.
Like the defining characteristic of this guy is that he loves selling houses. And it's like, oh no, wait, no, but he loves the girl.
Mm-hmm.
It's so muddled and we don't establish anything correctly. And you're right, the tone, I thought the humor worked sometimes. I thought it's not, I'm not laughing out loud at this movie, but there's some banter that's fun.
Yeah.
Like,
I think if it had been that way all the way, but then there's some really dark shit in the movie as well.
100%. Yeah.
So anyway,
it's
sadly,
a real miss.
Yeah, it's a real bummer, and it feels like just a couple more steps, a couple alterations could have made it into something that is not
I feel
necessarily
like it's a
great.
lot of alterations because it's not just tone, it's characters, it's motivation, it's the basic framework of a movie.
But again,
I feel like this movie kind of fails at that.
I just feel like when you think of like John Wick is
parts
so 2
like,
and 3, like the storyline in those movies is terrible in my opinion.
But it is set up. What you get in John Wick 1 is half an hour of like morose Keanu. Like it really
Sure.
builds the character.
Yeah, that's true.
Like you
That's true.
know who that character is.
Yeah.
You know his motivations.
John
and
Wick
then you
1,
can go
that's
loose.
right. But
Yeah.
I think John Wick
Yeah.
2 and 3, I think, are terrible. People
But then
still like
you
those
know who
movies.
that person is, so you can
sure.
let
Okay,
loose.
fine.
You know.
Fine.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, those are some overall thoughts on Love Hurts. Let's get to
Man.
spoilers for Love Hurts starting right now. Love Hurts is not a great film, but one thing that I really appreciate it acknowledging is how freaking sharp those boba straws are. You know,
Death
like
by Boba.
when you
Death
get a
by
boba straw,
is
it
a new
is
one.
like you can
Yeah.
cut yourself on those things.
Yeah.
But to that point, I actually think Sean Astin did some interesting work in this movie.
I think his
You know-
final scene is great. I think it's good.
I agree. There's this moment where he realizes he's dead.
Yeah.
And anytime a character realizes they're dead,
Yeah.
can kind of be dramatically interesting.
He kind of brought some heart. Like we get two scenes with that character, really, and like he brings some heart and background to it. So it's kind of fun.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
I don't know. You know, it's
something, Jeff. In a desert, a drop of water.
Like I didn't hate
something.
this movie. I just was disappointed with it. I was just, you know, because I think the honestly the premise of have fight scenes in houses that you're trying to show for sale is a great idea. That's a funny, fun concept, right? That scene where we've got the people looking and then there's a fight breaks out and he's like, I got guys that can clean up make it look like new. It's going to be fun.
Right. Yeah,
like,
yeah.
All that stuff that's fertile ground for a very entertaining action set piece. And it just never coalesces into anything. You know,
you got to have like a comedy mindset to really handle it. I was thinking like there's even like a direct reference to Shaun of the Dead, I think, with the fence jumping thing.
Yeah.
Edgar Wright, Edgar Wright, who can understand action, but also like knows those comedic beats. Like he would at least be able to make something of these scenes. And I don't know, it's a damn shame. I was also thinking of like, who did Mustafa Shakir remind me of? Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in Bruce Lee movies. Like it's a very similar vibe, like really tall man versus really short guy, big fight ensues. I
gotta say that is a really cool character design that he has the blades in the shoes, or the boots or whatever.
Rad.
So cool.
That's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. But again, that whole thing with him and the girl at the office is so silly and over the top. And then the next scene, a guy is stabbing someone in the eye with the boba straw. It's like,
and the blood is squirting out of the straw.
The blood squirting. You know, I guess it's all supposed to be goofy. You're not really supposed to take it seriously. But then, why have the ponderous voiceover? You know, it just all these elements of the movie just didn't really add up for me in any.
We should talk about the ending, because where do these characters end up? She is a bartender again. He is now cold-blooded assassin, and his life is complete.
Yeah.
They win.
The ending was, I have to say, I found the final shots of the movie to be quite baffling, because they're in some kind of speakeasy, right? Or whatever it is. And then you see a shot of like this woman performing on stage, and then a shot of Ariana DeBose, and then a shot of Ke Huy Quan, and then that's the end. And it's like,
that's the
what?
End.
Like what?
And they end up. So
no
he
closure.
Is now. He's a murderer again. She's once again working at a bar. What have we accomplished here?
Yeah.
Just basic motivation. Like the Jackie Chan movies always got that.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you're not really supposed to ask. The thing is, many Jackie Chan movies do just end after the final action scene.
Yeah,
right. Like
sure.
The action scenes, and then it's like, and the movie's over, and there's no resolution on any of the plot lines.
But you know why that like Shantytown was destroyed in Police Story. You know why he goes to the lengths he goes to. What motivates him? Like there's just that.
Movie, it does feel like the sequel to a movie we didn't get to see. You know, it does feel like.
The whole movie, I just kept thinking to myself, "There's all these scenes that should have been here." Like, there is a scene of the two of like Ke Huy Quan and his brother as kids, and that scene would have annoyed the shit out of me. But I'm like, but I understand why they put that in there, because otherwise you have no reason why these characters are connected at all. Like, no connection to their relationship at all. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Any flashbacks with Ke Huy Quan and Ariana DeBose? Yes, there is a flash. There's
terrible
like
mustache.
There's like 2 minutes
Terrible
of flash.
mustache.
There's like 2 minutes of flashback,
man.
right? And it's like that's really not enough for you to understand the relationship. And then Rhys Darby is in this movie, and it's like, again,
I loved him, and I love him anytime he pops up. He's very funny
guy, fun guy.
It's a fun scene where he's fun guy. He's a fun guy. yeah, I think he's, he's always funny and just always going for it. But again, it just felt like these weird little, hey, we got this guy for 2 days. What can we do with him?
Right.
Yeah, I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
It's just a basic story. Like, so the director is Jonathan Eusebio, who has done stunt work for Fall Guy, Matrix Resurrections, like a big movies, and we like the choreography and stunt work in that. It's just like a basic sense of storytelling is what this movie's missing. It's unfortunate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Agreed.
But dude, there's fun ideas like the guys pulling down the giant fork and spoon from the wall on the the ridiculous decoration that you find in model homes.
Staging. The staging is
It's like, and they just that's fun, right? That's a fun thing,
fun.
and all that stuff I was talking about earlier with throwing the guy into the microwave, and then the microwave, the camera starts rotating on the microwave dish thing. That's cool.
I like that using cookie cutters as weapons. Like that's very fun. That's very cool.
All of that is like,
at one point they throw Ke Huy Quan into a refrigerator, and then they throw the refrigerator. That's very fun as well.
Again, shenanigans, because that's a single. It's a one compartment. That's all refrigerator.
So, I know, right?
There's no freezer there.
It makes no sense.
It makes no sense.
Right.
What are we doing?
I totally agree. But
Jackie Chan would have scrunched himself up into the fridge compartment and make that the joke.
It's clearly a staging refrigerator, guys. It's not real.
Sure.
That it's not even powered, right? So
why was the light on? I hate, I genuinely hate this movie because I hate kind of what it represents and what it's doing. And even though the action is good at times, like it's depressing. It's people are going to look at this and be like, oh, Ke Huy Quan, not a leading man. Look what happened to his movie. Like that's going to be the calculus, the Hollywood calculus after this. And it's damn depressing.
I hope not. And the movie is not a financial success. It'll be lucky if it makes back its budget domestically, but because it didn't cost very much, it's not going to be a massive catastrophe either. And I'm glad Universal, they're the ones
18% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Anyway. All right. Well, despite everything we've just said, at the end of the day, it is impressive that Jonathan Eusebio made a movie. Thank you so much for watching this video of the Filmcast. Check out these other videos that we have available, and be sure to hit like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to get other videos from us in the future.
You can also go to thefilmcast.com to catch all of our audio podcast versions of all of our episodes.
And support this podcast at patreon.com/filmpodcast, where you can sign up for ad-free episodes and exclusive After Darks.
Thanks so much to everyone who makes the Filmcast possible.